You pony-faced dog soldiers. You dog lying-faced dog soldiers. You
dog-faced lying pony soldier.
There we go. Welcome to the Enough Already podcast. I'm Fingers Malloy, my lovely co-host. Tracy L. Connors is here with me as always. And boy, oh boy, what a time to be alive. This is so fun to watch. This is better than any stupid reality TV show that anyone could come up with. You know how you would watch, say, the Gene Simmons Family Jewels or the Osbournes, and it was interesting for a week, and it was like it was real, and then after that, you could tell that they were scripting stuff. And it's like, oh, okay, let's put Chumley in a wacky situation, and you know it's all bullshit. This right here, it's so absurd. It can't be scripted ahead of time. None of it. You're a reality TV show person. You used to work in that field. This is better than anything that's come out in reality TV.
Oh, without a doubt. I do think that there are people that are attempting to script it, like our friends over at the Shadow app.
And they're doing a piss poor job of it. I mean, we talked about that last week. The whole Iowa caucus disaster, and listen, I'm more and more I'm leasing a tinfoil hat ready to buy. I'm this close to just purchasing the thing because it is clear that the DNC just completely wants to screw Bernie Sanders over again.
Yep. And at what point does he become hip to that, and what does he do if he does?
He needs to burn the system down. Walk away. Hashtag walk away. That's what he needs to do. Just burn it down. You're not. If the DNC is against you, and they're either trying to sabotage your campaign to take the nomination away from you, or if they realize that the base is so invested, or much of the base is invested in a Bernie Sanders presidential candidacy, but they're not invested in it, and they're going to half-heartedly get on board, you're not going to win, dude. And if the establishment is stacking the deck against you, then it's time to just start calling shit out.
Yeah, because then he can make a run as an independent. If he actually goes down swinging instead of just goes down in a little fetal position like he's want to do.
See, I don't know what the election laws are to where I don't know when he would have to step away and declare himself an independent to get on the ballot in enough states to really put a dent in this. But the system's rigged against him, and to think that there is a possibility that a billionaire can swoop in on the Democratic Party, a party that many of the base, one of their main principles, we like using the word principles now, is, oh my gosh, we need to get money out of politics. We have to get money out of politics. If we could only get money out of politics, and then you got a billionaire buy the nomination.
Yeah, well, there's two of them trying to buy it right now in the Democrat Party. And only one of them is actually a Democrat, as far as we know. I don't know. I've never seen Steyer's registrations over the years, but
well, he's trying to talk like a Democrat. A ridiculous policy initiative he's trying to throw out there. That what is it $20 an hour or $22 an hour minimum wage? I saw last week out of the Steyer campaign.
I didn't see that. That's hilarious. Is he going to pay for that himself?
Well, I mean, sorry, I'm on 4 cups of coffee.
Yeah, and that's it for today, right?
Yeah, just 4 cups of coffee. Bloomberg is paying a living wage for his campaign staff, and then some. The wages he is paying people dwarfs anything anyone else is paying in any campaign.
Fingers, are you making fun of his height? You know, that's a sore spot for Mini Mike.
Yeah, because you can't go with Little Mike because that's Little Marco. That's already been taken.
Yeah. No, I like the alliteration. Mini Mike.
Right.
It's pretty good.
So I just don't understand, and I know we've been. I may as well take it outside. We're beating a dead horse here, but I can't figure Bernie Sanders out. You're not a serious person. You're really not. You're not really wanting to lead a movement unless the argument is, listen, the way to really be a revolutionary here is we are going to completely change the face of the Democratic Party, and it will be Bernie's party.
That could be it, but in order to do that, you kind of gotta take some swings. Look at how Trump took over the Republican Party, which I don't think many people would argue with, right? He owns that party now.
Right.
Was he nice about that? Did he hold back from hitting anybody that was on the debate stage with them? And the Democrats have that whole kind of philosophy, like, no circular firing. You can't take swings at any fellow Democrats. That's not who we are. It's like, well, first of all, that's BS. You guys are vicious. And maybe not intra-party, but definitely behind the scenes, stuff is pretty ugly. Why not bring it to the stage? They need to clear the field because there's nobody to coalesce behind. If they could clear the field down to 2 or 3, maybe somebody could get some momentum aside from Bernie because they don't want him. And I keep hearing people saying, oh, well, maybe what'll happen is Bernie will get the nomination and then they'll saddle him with Buttigieg as a VP. It's like, what world are you living in? I mean, maybe Bernie Sanders goes along with it, but really that the guy from might as well be from Bain Capital,
right?
You know.
Well, listen, if Bernie Sanders gets the nomination, it has to be a woman as his VP, does it not?
Right, but is he going to go? Would he be okay with a moderate? I mean, Klobuchar's brought up over and over again how she's worked with him.
Yeah.
So is she angling for that spot? But do you really want to tie your political fortunes to him? You say he wins. We've talked about this. He's not getting anything done.
What about the governor? What about the governor of Michigan?
Oh, that crazy lady. You probably know more about her than I do.
Not a lot, but I will say you pick a politician from a battleground state, and Michigan's in play. So you pick the governor of Michigan. That's a possibility. You pick someone outside of the current field because let's face it, there are Bernie bros. They're passionate about Bernie. But other than that, are we seeing a lot of enthusiasm on the Democratic side for these candidates?
Not to mine. I saw my first Bernie 2020 sign today. But I haven't seen anything else. So no, it doesn't feel like 2016 and the energy that was there for him at that time. But you think the Democrat Party's okay? I guess they are if they let her give the rebuttal to the State of the Union.
They're trying to elevate her.
Sure. But you think maybe you need somebody with some military experience on that ticket?
Do you?
Do you feel like he has any foreign policy credentials whatsoever?
Well, listen, I mean, he clearly has strong ties with Russia.
Right.
So there's that. But I don't know if people care about that anymore?
It depends on what the situation is in the world at that point. You've got to fast forward to this will be announced at the convention probably, if not before that. Not that it makes any strategic sense. And there's no superstar that he could say, this is who my running mate's going to be, kind of what Ted Cruz tried to pull with Carly Fiorina.
Well, there are a couple.
Well, who? Who could he throw on the ticket to really put him over the edge?
Michelle Obama.
Yeah, I don't think she would do that. I don't think anybody wants their political fortune tied to him.
No, I don't think so either. I mean, look, you've heard the reason why that isn't a possibility. I'm just throwing names out there, but at the end of the day, Michelle Obama would not be a part of his ticket because you've heard through back channels, it's getting out there that Barack Obama doesn't want Bernie Sanders to have anything to do with the Democratic Party. Right. So,
who have you heard from through back channels that does want him?
The AOC, I guess. But she's on the stump for him. an entire speech, doesn't mention his name once.
It's all about her.
Well, I mean, to be fair, first of all, what cracks me up about that, how anyone could be shocked about that. That she would pull
maniac.
Yeah. I mean, oh my gosh, she made it all about her. That would be like me inviting the president of the United States, Donald Trump, to be a part of whatever movement that I have, and be shocked that he would tweet about it. I'm stunned. How could he? The AOC makes everything about her. So you bring her in, that's what's going to happen. Don't be surprised.
Well, I keep hearing that the woman that's challenging her, that had been a CNBC contributor, is a serious contender to take her out. And she's another three-namer, Michelle Caruso Cabrera. It's going to be tough. Do you want the bartender turned, pain in the ass to everybody that chased Amazon out of your district? Or do you want this chick that may or may not know a little bit of something about economics and the markets and the economy? And
well, that's what's going to be interesting, because I've heard people who know much more about politics in that area than I do say that she's not popular in her district, because much of it is her making everything about her. And look at, she's not far away from a primary election. What is she doing? She's stumping for Bernie Sanders somewhere. How often has she been back in her district? I don't know the answer to that question, but it doesn't sound like, it sounds like she's more interested in her post-congressional career than what she's doing in Congress right now.
I agree with that for sure. And I just don't know that she has the star power. I mean, I think she's popular, right? But if you look at, I look at Twitter followers, because this is where she lives. I don't look at Instagram. I know she does a lot of stuff over there. But her Twitter following right now, I'm trying to pull her up, and of course it wants to be slow. Let's see. She's got 6.3 million Twitter followers.
Wow.
It sounds like a lot, but when you look at Trump's over 70 million, and how many people don't follow him but have him on a list or something, or bookmark him, or they just don't want to give him that follow.
I would love to know how many of those followers live in her district.
There's probably if Twitter wanted to give up that information, they could.
Yes.
But they won't. No, I think she's more of a national phenomenon than a Queens phenomenon.
So she's going to write a book. Look, she's going to get rich off of this whole thing.
She'll get a talk show or something.
Yeah, she'll get some kind of talk show. Do you think that she's ready for prime time at this point, though, or do you think that she still has to be groomed?
I don't think she's willing to be groomed. So I think it really matters. Honestly, do you think that she's willing to take advice or listen? Nobody advised her, go stump for Bernie, because he's stuck in the Senate dealing with his impeachment thing, and don't say his name, and then lie about his positions to make them seem more like yours, even more radical, which are your positions. No borders, no border patrol agents, no ICE. Just let it all out. Medicare.
I think it depends on who they give that task to. Like if it's a lefty heavyweight in the media world. So listen, I'm going to take you under my wing. Just help me help you. Help me help you. Help me help you. It's possible.
Well, who would that person be?
Well, it also has to be someone that is secure enough in their own skin, in their own position, where they aren't worried about, hey, am I grooming this person to take my job? I mean, well, look, Maddow, I off the top of my head, I can't think of too many people that would. I know nothing about Rachel Maddow personally, but I think it has to be that kind of name where it's okay. We're going to groom her, and we got this heavyweight on the left that will groom. Maybe she would respect it, but like you said, she'd probably go in there both guns a-blazing. Like, no, but you want me to follow Morning Joy, AM Joy? What's the name of that show that you like so much? Like, yeah. Oh, you want me to be on Saturday mornings? Do you know who I am? I was in Congress. Give me a Joe Scarborough's show.
Yeah. That Mika lady, she seems kind of out of touch. Who is she again? Oh, she's Meghan McCain in 30 years, 40 years, whatever the age difference is. Her daddy was famous.
Oh, that's not fair. How dare you? How dare you?
Which one of those two is that unfair to?
Give me a week. I'll get back with you on that. But clearly, I see her on the stump doing what she's doing and getting in front of microphones as much as possible. And I'm saying to myself, okay, she's just preparing for if she loses. And
I think she thinks she's moving up in the world.
You think she thinks she's invincible?
Yeah. And that's not an irrational thought either. I mean, she came out of nowhere and now she's the most recognizable probably member of Congress.
True.
And she's not old enough to run for president yet. And you've seen, there's been scuttlebutt that maybe she'll challenge Schumer. And Trump kind of floated that last week. Like, hey, I think she could beat crying Chucky or whatever he calls him. I think she should run against him. She'd win. So he's not up this time around. He's up in 2022. And then you got Gillibrand right on his heels. So could she move up to the Senate? And then what becomes of the Senate? Does that become a clown show?
I predict when she becomes old enough, she will be the Green Party nominee for president of the United States.
Either that or she starts her own party. She's a member of the Democratic Socialists of America. Is that not a registered party? I don't know. I mean, I've seen them at tons of protest events. They have those great little people, not profits, with two different color hands shaking, holding a rose.
Oh, that's adorable.
Uh-huh.
How come CPAC doesn't have a people over profits sign?
For our profit, people. That's our...
There you go. Now we know what we're going to name this episode. But look, I find it wildly entertaining between that and then the other headline grabber in the last couple of days. We're recording this on Saturday, February 15th. There was a trial balloon thrown out there that Mike Bloomberg would pick Hillary Clinton to be his running mate. And to me, this makes absolutely zero sense. I will tell you why in a second. But I want to hear your take because you said you believe that this is actually a good move.
Oh, I think it's the only move he's got. And he's apparently pulled it. And we know he's spending a hell of a lot of money on the experts around. And so they're saying this is what you need to add to the ticket, Mike, to make yourself more likable, I suppose. Whatever world that is, where it makes him more likable to throw her in there. And it's not like he needs any money. So I don't know if this is to get Team Clinton on board. Because right now, that faction of the Democrat Party, which still exists, the Clinton, I guess you could throw the Obamas in there, even though they hate each other. But that is a wing of the party. And everybody thought, oh, Joe Biden will get that wing behind him. And that's not happening. The man came in 5th in New Hampshire. He's got exactly 0 delegates, even though we still don't know who won Iowa, which is absolutely absurd, and I'm annoyed because my money's tied up in that market on Predict It, and they won't. But if he wants to get the party on board, this is a way to do it. And remember, this is a man that was a Republican and then an independent, and now all of a sudden he's magicked himself into being a Democrat.
Principles.
Correct. Yeah, his principle is I should be in charge of everything.
Yes.
So I think it makes some sense. I'm sure they have a somewhat decent relationship. I mean, she's a New Yorker, we all know, the senator from New York.
Oh, of course. She's a diehard Yankees fan. I heard that when she announced that she was running for Senate in New York. She loved Lou Ruth and Babe Gehrig. She said, I heard her. If I had the tape, I would play it for
you. Oh, my
you.
God, that's great.
But listen, there are a couple of reasons why this makes no sense whatsoever. First of all, to me, you have to have someone on a ticket that can inspire people to give a speech. Mike Bloomberg, I count Mike Bloomberg's when I can't sleep at night. Okay?
What are they jumping over?
A can of Mountain Dew. And believe me, that's quite a leap for Mike Bloomberg. So he is a snooze fest. Not the best candidate in the world. You add one of the crappiest candidates in the last 30 years to the ticket, another really an electrifying speaker, Tracy. I mean, I would pay dozens of cents to go watch Hillary Clinton give a speech. One of the worst presidential. Think about this. She lost to Donald freaking Trump. Horrible candidate. You couple them together, boy, I mean, that's a snooze fest of a ticket. But then on top of it, for Mike Bloomberg to get this nomination, he's going to have to buy it, which is against everything I'm told. It's against Democratic Party principles. But he will be screwing Bernie Sanders out of the nomination. And to add salt in the wound, you're going to put on your ticket the woman 4 years ago who screwed Bernie Sanders out of the nomination. I mean, if you're just telling the party, I don't want Bernie bros, I don't want your support, kiss my ass, the perfect person to add to your ticket is Hillary Clinton. It makes zero sense to me. I'm sure there's some internal polling that's, oh, wow, the moderates will love it, and yet you'll keep enough of the progressive base of the party that you could win. I call bullshit. I think that much of the progressive wing, the far left of the Democratic Party base is going to look at this and say, wait, he bought the nomination and he's putting on someone on the ticket who screwed up the last election and also screwed Bernie Sanders out of the nomination 4 years ago. Piss on this. I'm staying home. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm not saying it's a good idea. Don't get me wrong. I think it's a terrible idea, but I want to see it.
Oh, you kidding me? It's be so fun to watch.
And I wouldn't be surprised if we start getting some of these candidates start throwing out the Hail Mary of announcing who their VP is going to be.
Yeah, I mean, we've already seen it. I mean, Joe Biden, who is in desperate need of Barack Obama's love in the worst possible way. Just he's like the guy who asked the prom queen out on a date and she's, yeah, I'll get back to you, and walked away, and he's just sitting there holding a rose hoping she'll come back. With the Barack Obama, that's what he is. And Barack's just not giving him the love.
No, and it's pretty shitty if you think about it. I mean, Biden stood by him through everything and was his number one defender. Anytime there was the whiff of a scandal in the scandal-free administration that was the Obama administration. No. Can't repay the favor. So
well, why would he?
Right. But who is he going to throw his support behind? Or is he just going to stay out of this because he knows that it's going to be a disaster and that whoever ends up with it is just going to get trounced?
He's going to wait until the convention. It'll be interesting to see if he sits out if it's Bernie Sanders. If Bernie Sanders does get the nomination, will Barack Obama throw his support behind Bernie Sanders? That'll be interesting. But he's going to wait until the convention because he doesn't want to be attached to a loser. So why would he come out in February and say, listen, I'm a Pete Buttigieg guy. I think he's fantastic. What he did in South Bend was just outstanding. And I looked at him early on and thought to myself, in his first year as a mayor, I thought that's presidential material right there. He's not going to do any of that because if Pete goes down in flames, then it's, yeah, Barack Obama supported him.
Yes, but your impression was a little bit off. If he really cared about him, he would say, I see a lot of myself in him.
Yeah.
But
right.
Here comes the problem. Say they let him have it. Mm. Bloomberg is pledged to throw the billions behind whomever it is that comes out of this. That puts Bernie Sanders in a very difficult situation.
Do you believe that?
What, that Bernie wouldn't take his money?
No, that Bloomberg will throw his money behind her. Or is he just saying that now and then all of a sudden when he loses, he's going to, you know what? Shit, I left my checkbook at home.
The man is worth $70 billion. He doesn't care about spending a couple billion. I think he hates Trump that much. And as long as Trump keeps dunking on him with the height stuff and other things, and wait until he starts calling him a racist and talking about the stop and frisk issue, which I didn't realize the depth of that. And then I heard Giuliani on the War Room podcast kind of explaining the difference between when it was him running that whole program and then transitioning over to Bloomberg. The numbers are so insane, it's not even funny. I can't remember what the overall numbers are. Say under Giuliani, and this is not the accurate numbers, but it's representative. They stopped 200,000 people under this rubric. And I can't remember if it somewhere between like 30 and 50% of the people that were stopped actually had weapons on them or had an outstanding warrant, or were worthwhile to capture. They were actual criminals. Bloomberg comes in, they run the numbers up to 600,000 stops and something like a 10% return on that. And so Rudy's explaining this to Bannon. And, Bloomberg got rich by having this Bloomberg terminal thing. That's a data cruncher for the markets, is my understanding. So he's like, dude's a data guy. He didn't look at that and say, whoa, hold on a second here. We're not getting the return that the previous administration did on this. Like this is obviously not working. And Giuliani's answer was that, well, they didn't care because they dropped the murder rate, crime rate, because what happens is if you're worried that you're going to get stopped when you leave the house with a weapon, you're probably not going to leave the house. So just this culture of fear that he instituted. And so the Holder Justice Department went after them for this. So that changes the situation as far as I'm concerned. I didn't realize that's what went down with that. So that looks bad when you're like, hey, Trump just did the First Step Act and let a whole bunch of people that were, in prison for stuff that maybe they shouldn't have been, and definitely not with the sentences that they got. So you're going to run that against Mr. Stop and Frisk? I don't think that's going to go over too well.
Oh, this is going to be so fun to watch because, like you said, if Bernie Sanders does get the nomination, if the Dems say, okay, we'll give our Gimp the nomination, we'll make him wear the ball gag that says DNC on it, but we'll let him have his little toy. He's been begging, and it's his turn, I guess, even though we know he's going to go down in flames. You touched on it. How much fun is the Trump campaign going to have with, you hate billionaires, don't you? You don't hate Michael Bloomberg, though. Why don't you hate Mike? Oh. So billionaires aren't so bad, are they, when they're contributing hundreds of millions of dollars to your campaign?
Well, does he allow that to happen, Bernie? If he's Mr. Principles, can he take a dime of Bloomberg's money?
I think there would be a behind-the-scenes deal where there will be so many ads flooding the market by Swift Boaters for Truth. Just throw that out there. Remember that?
Yes.
Talk about a callback. It'll be like Landlords for Truth. And they'll talk about Trump as a landlord, and it'll be a thing where, okay, the money's it won't be from the Bernie Sanders campaign. It'll be from some sort of PAC.
Well, it's not like you can stop Bloomberg from advertising on your behalf.
Right.
Unless he comes out and he's like, you must cease and desist. I will not accept anything. No in-kind, no nothing.
And that ain't going to happen. Probably
not, no.
It'll be interesting to see when Bloomberg can finally get on a debate stage.
Which is weak.
Yeah. If Bernie Sanders will totally cock block him and not talk to him like he did with Tom Steyer.
Well, Tom Steyer wants to be his buddy, and I think he might actually take Steyer's money because Steyer, climate change is his big thing, and that's the reason that Bernie Sanders wouldn't sign the new USMCA bill.
It's amazing.
I know. It's just I keep picturing him on a world stage, and it doesn't make sense to me. Looking at that man where you expect moths to fly out of his pockets, but his suit would still smell like mothballs.
Saturday Night Live has been doing such a great job in recent weeks with Democratic debate cold opens. Larry David as Bernie Sanders. It's amazing.
It's too bad that Vern Troyer's passed because he could play Bloomberg, and that would be excellent. They just have him standing on the podium. Forget the whole idea that he needs a box.
Well, who's the guy from Saturday Night Live who plays Bloomberg now? He played him in the like 10 years ago. He's so great. He just sits. He's been on a couple of times. He just kind of wanders on the stage and he's sipping on
the giant big gulp. Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Oh, it's so fun to see them. You know, they took that 8-year break making fun of Democrats, but there's such a wealth of material now that you can't ignore it. I mean, they've had 2 or 3 different guys play Biden, and each one of them has been fantastic.
Yeah, they're going to miss him when he has to drop out after South Carolina.
Yeah. You just wonder if he ever had his heart in it. But it's absolutely crazy. It's been brought up more than once on the internet that, you know, he ran in 88, he ran in 08, and he's running now, and he's never won a caucus or a primary, and he was declared the front runner. I mean, this is why Trump went, you know, talking to the Ukraine, because listen, it was Biden. I mean, Biden's going to get the nomination, and he's so worried about Biden, and God.
Right. Well, it was kind of almost like they had to keep that whole lie alive to have a reason to go after Trump. That was Trump's motivation. And I think now every single one of the Democrat candidates at one point or another has declared that they are Trump's worst nightmare. Like, I saw Klobuchar do that when she was claiming victory for coming in 3rd in New Hampshire. I'm Donald Trump's worst nightmare. I don't think Donald Trump spends more than 2 seconds thinking about you. He's probably trying. The only reason he's thinking about her is trying to come up with what nickname he's going to give her. Right.
Well, our good friend Red Eye Robot from the old Snark Factor days, I saw him post on social media. It was spot on. Joe Biden is Jeb Bush 2020.
Well, Trump tweeted that.
Oh, did he? Oh, I didn't see that.
He's Jeb. He's a smaller version, or tiny, I think, as he said, a tiny version of Jeb. No energy. He's terrible. He's never getting anywhere.
Did you see that pathetic video of a group of young people singing to Joe Biden?
No.
It was you know how it must have been about a month and a half ago, there was a video of young people doing like the Macarena or something to Mike Bloomberg, or it was like a weird.
I saw people dancing for Pete.
Yeah, there's been that too, but there was like a group of kids. It had to have been between the ages of maybe 18 and 28, and they're all clapping, and they're "Whoa, Joe Biden!" And I'm like, "Oh, it's the Pony Soldier Choir out there singing about Joe Biden." And it's just like, I'm told these are supposed to be the cool people.
Yeah, it's a little hard now to claim that mantle.
Yeah, these are the hip people. These are the cool people.
No.
Yeah. And then Joe, you know, he's just like one of us. He's sitting there enjoying the whole thing, soaking it all in, thinking, "Oh, I only have to deal with this crap for another 8 days, and I'll be done." But he's sitting there, and he's got his shirt sleeves rolled up, and he's wearing a pair of blue jeans. He's just like one of us, and the whole thing is just sad. I probably, if I thought we were going to talk about it, I would have sent you the link to the video. But you got to check it out, gang, if you haven't seen it. There's just one, the funny thing is they have, you know, they've memed this, and there's this one kid who is looking into the camera with a, "Oh my God, what are we doing?" look on his face.
It's like so public service that they were roped into doing. These are all kids that have DUIs or something.
Well, yeah, it felt very much like they went to the home to wish a 90-year-old a happy birthday. The Hooray for Everything choir showed up. "Oh, listen, we're going to do a little community service today. We're going to the home, and we're going to wish Joe a happy birthday."
He still thinks he could be president. Yeah, that's got to be embarrassing. But like we said, where is his family or any friends that can be like, "Hey, buddy, this is not a good look, and you're not getting anywhere"?
What do you think goes through Jill Biden's mind?
I don't know. I don't know if she just checks the bank account, which is now finally their own bank account, not the rest of the family's, is finally pretty decent shape because they got book deals, or at least he did. Maybe that's how I would comfort myself if I was her.
Well, I mean, seriously, just his behavior. He's always kind of been this way, but what was it? 2014? It had to have been 2014 when they were, swearing in new senators, and you and I were texting back and forth. We were watching it on C-SPAN because we're dorks, and he's the whole inappropriate contact with senators' wives and children, and like putting his nose in hair and stuff. If you're the wife, are you sitting back going, Joe, what the hell are you doing?
Right. Apparently not. Maybe she finds it endearing.
Well, I'm sure he's probably always been like that, and he's like, hey, you knew what you were getting.
Yeah.
When you married me. I don't know, but she's not going to stand by her man sitting in the kitchen baking cookies. That's what I want to see. I want to see that.
No, she's a doctor. Now, how long? Who do you think's next to drop?
Listen. I want to give credit where credit is due. You were right about Amy Klobuchar. I thought that she was not going to be long for this race because I don't get it. I don't understand it. I've seen her speak. On the debate stage, she just kind of is there.
Yeah, shaky Amy.
Yeah, but she may be the candidate that is, if it's not Bloomberg, is the anti-Bernie. We're gonna go over to her. I'm. Before I give you my answer, I'm highly amused. I read a piece yesterday. Pete Buttigieg had a fundraiser in San Francisco, I think it was. It was one of the poorer areas of San Francisco. $250 to get in. And there were a couple of LGBTQ protesters angry with Mayor Pete, feeling that, maybe he's not letting his spouse be more part of the campaign. And also, if you read further down, they talk to the protesters afterwards, he's too moderate.
Oh, of course.
Mayor Pete. Because he doesn't believe in Medicare for all, and he doesn't believe in canceling student loan debt. His version of healthcare is so far to the left of anything that you would see from the Republican Party. But I've seen more than one Bernie bro say it's either Bernie or a bunch of Republicans who are running for the Democratic nomination. That's how far left everything has moved, where you can look at a Mayor Pete and go, he's a Republican.
Yeah.
Really? Okay. Sure he is. Who's going to drop out next? I think it probably Liz Warren, don't you think? Or is she going to hang on to the bitter end?
I think it could be Biden just based on money in the bank.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I saw Warren. They interviewed her after the New Hampshire primary. Mm-hmm. So after Amy's speech had wrapped up, I'm jumping back and forth between CNN and MSNBC, and I think I caught her on MSNBC, Warren, and she's live from her, election night headquarters, and she's the only person in the damn room. Well, this is, we just cut away from Amy's speech where she's got a full packed house and everybody's really excited about her, which is just so bizarre to me. It's like, okay. But then we go to Warren, and they wanted to talk about the stuff that was going on. I think that was the day that the whole kerfuffle happened with Trump tweeting about Roger Stone's potential sentence, the sentencing guidelines and that whole thing. And so they were like, why isn't anybody bringing this up? This is such a huge deal. So they asked Warren about it. And when they go to her, she looks like she had been crying. And then she had that crackling in her voice, like post-sob and almost on the verge of doing it again kind of thing. And it's just like, dude, you got smoked in a neighboring state.
Yeah.
You're nuts if you think you're going to mount some kind of a comeback. The only prayer she has is that Bernie has another heart attack.
Well, listen, usually that kind of thing helps you when the primary is in your backyard. But I saw was it Owen Brennan? Someone brought up a great point that New Hampshire is in Boston's media market. Mm-hmm. And so people in New Hampshire are very, very familiar with Liz Warren, and that's why she shit the bed.
Yeah. Oh, they know you. They'd rather pick some mayor from Nowheresville. And some lady do you remember when Klobuchar kicked off her campaign and by the end of it, she looked like Frosty the Snowman? She was out in the snowstorm. Yeah. Everybody's laughing at her. But no, she's the Kasich of this go around.
Yeah, it's amusing. Think about this for a second. You're a Northeastern Democrat. You're in the Boston market. Not the restaurant, but the Boston media market, okay? And there's a sense, at least from around the country, that people in that area may find they tend to act like they're elitists, okay? They think they're a little bit better than everyone else. And a significant portion of that electorate turned to the mayor of a shitty little town in Indiana and said, yeah, I'd rather have him than her. And she's from Massachusetts. We know her. I'd rather have the mayor of flyover country town than her. That just shows you how bad things are going for her.
Or is it that it seems to be that a lot of Democrats are prioritizing electability. So because of the disaster in Iowa, it's still indeterminate who won there, but it was either Bernie or Mayor Pete. So do people just want to jump on board and say, okay, I want to go with somebody that I think can win? And that's why he did so well versus.
But how is he electable? Explain this to me. Because things can change. It's February of 2020. So much of the Democratic voting bloc is based on this group, that group. Man, his minority outreach is crap.
Sure. But there's time to fix that, and maybe he announces a VP. Him and Cop Kamala wouldn't be a bad pairing. Not that she's got a lot of support in the in the minority community.
Okay, but let me ask you this, because so much of this, I think that there is something to balancing out the ticket. It used to be, you can't have a Southern candidate, you got to have the North, that's the kind of thing. And to a certain extent, I think that is a thing of the past. But I do think there's something for Democrats this time around where they may want to pick someone from Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan, or Wisconsin.
You could be right.
And what do you get from what do you add to the ticket by adding a senator from California?
Well, if you do it before Super Tuesday, you might be able to pick up a hell of a lot of delegates in California. Yeah. For some reason, she's still fairly popular there. I mean, she is a California senator. And if the game right now is to capture delegates, that's not a bad way to do it.
It's true.
But he could also pick up, not that Jersey would be that great of a boon, but he could take Cory Booker. He needs somebody that has Washington experience on the ticket with him.
There's no way. I mean, I've seen Republicans starting to whisper quietly, New Jersey may be in play.
Well, did you see the rally in Wildwood, New Jersey?
I mean, if New Jersey is in play, holy
voted
shit!
For Chris Christie. Yeah. Why would it be out of the question? I mean, the only difference between Christie and Trump is a couple $1 billion and about 200 pounds.
If Donald Trump carries New Jersey, this is a landslide.
Mm-hmm.
A landslide.
Yes, I think that's totally possible.
Which would make a Cory Booker pick very, very interesting.
But he's got to do something to get the minority vote. Because I think you're right. He's got no purchase there. And the other problem is Bernie's at war with the unions in Nevada. They don't want to give up the health care they fought for.
Unions, this is a very tough spot for union leaders to be in. Because the rank and file, and it depends on exactly what industry we're talking about, but as someone who knows the automotive industry and knows the United Auto Workers, I can tell you that Trump has a lot of support within the rank and file of the United Auto Workers because of what's going on with China, the renegotiation of NAFTA, even though it didn't include anything with climate change. I mean, auto workers, they are so concerned with climate change.
Devastated, right?
Right. But look, that is an interesting point that Republicans need to hit is, listen, you know, all those years and those hard-fought battles that your union fought to get you that Cadillac health care plan? Mm-hmm. Well, the candidate who your union leadership supports wants to eradicate your Cadillac health care plan. So do you think that's a good move for you or a bad move for you? Oh, by the way, did you enjoy that tax cut? I did my taxes last week, Tracy, and let me tell you, Donald Trump, you magnificent bastard. That's all I have.
That's 2 years in a row on that one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So...
Well, the thing is, though, in Nevada, it sounds like the union leadership is the ones fighting with Bernie, and it's the rank and file that are happy to have Medicare, apparently. And so there was fighting going on Twitter where the union is putting out statements like, we want Bernie Sanders, we don't like Bernie Sanders' position on this. We fought hard to get the health care that we have, and we want to keep it. And then you've got supposedly these people are union members. It's impossible to tell because it's Twitter. Arguing with that. They're in the comments on the tweets being like, no, you don't understand. If we get Medicare for all, that means our wages are going to go up. No, they're not. I don't understand this. At least I didn't read Sanders' plan, but I read Warren's plan because she was playing that game. Oh, you know, you'll have no out of pocket and whatever. And what'll happen is your employers will save money because they don't have to cover you. So you'll get a raise. And these are the same people that think that anybody that's an employer is just an evil, greedy bastard that's keeping every penny that they can. But at the same time, we're counting on them to give people more money because we're not covering their health care.
And meanwhile, if Trump has a huge corporate tax cut, oh, your corporation will just stuff that money in their pockets. But if they don't have to pay for your health care, they're going to freely give it to you.
Right. This is the nonsense that these people spout. So you read the details in her plan, and it was just, oh, what'll happen is employers will be on the hook to cover 80% of the current cost that they're paying right now into the private market. They'll just cut the checks to the government instead. Okay, so there's 20% left over. Potentially that could be divvied out, but think about, depending on how large of a workforce that is, that could be a couple pennies to everybody.
Yeah. On top of that, you're going to have Democrats swoop in and they're going to want to raise the corporate tax rate.
Of course. So there goes that money. And they're going to have to raise the individual tax rates to pay for all their nonsense.
But that's okay, because then you'll have health care.
Yeah, and that's all that matters.
Wow. It's funny how, look, I look at the Republicans and they really need to, this time around, if Trump does have a significant victory where he wins the White House and then on the coattails of his presidential run, they keep the Senate and get the House back, the first thing they need to do is take a page out of Virginia Democrats' playbook. Just be like, we're ramming through our agenda and we don't care. We're going to do everything we can to ram everything down the Democrats' throats, because that's what Virginia Democrats have done in the state house with gun laws. And that's what Democrats did when Barack Obama had the White House and they had Congress, is we're having Obamacare. And you know what? If we end up losing the House and the Senate, so be it. We'll get it back. Republicans will screw up. We'll get it back eventually. But at least we'll have some monumental legislation that we can look to and say, look what we did.
And I actually have some hope that they're not going to be caught flat-footed, which is what happened in 2016 when he won. They had no plan. We've been bitching about getting rid of Obamacare for 7 years, and we couldn't just coalesce around one thing, so then it all just goes up in smoke, and there's nothing. And I can't remember which congressman it was that I heard this week, again, on the War Room podcast, which I would recommend to anybody who's interested in this. It might have been Gates, but it was definitely, somebody that was saying they've been working to put together the legislation that they want to have ready on day one, say they win the House back. They're ready to roll and just knock off the agenda as fast as possible.
Well, listen, if if the Republicans were able to win back the House and the Senate, and he wins a significant victory, say he wins New Jersey, Democrats at some point they're going to have to say to themselves, if we want power back, we're going to have to try to work with him somehow. I have to believe that if they keep going down this road of just completely trying to gridlock everything. And normally I'm for gridlock. Don't get me wrong. I love gridlock. I love to bathe in gridlock. But the healthcare costs are just out of control, and something needs to be done to address this. There are certain things I would love to see have happen, even though I hate government involvement. I would love to see where hospitals and doctors need to start posting their prices. Yeah.
They should. I mean, I had a meeting with I guess you would call them a broker of sorts that does the healthcare for us, and he was explaining that there's a scale, right, of cost, and the cheapest thing to do is go telemedicine, which is part of our plan. So you can just call a doctor, tell them this is what I think is wrong with me. They might do a little video chat with you to make sure. And then they just, boop, your prescription's over at Walgreens. You can go pick it up. And then next in line is your GP. And then from there, it's urgent care. And then it works its way all the way up. And the most expensive thing is going to the damn hospital, of course.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But this isn't broken down for people. They don't understand that. They don't understand. I don't know if you have them in Indiana, but they seem to be a chain here called Quest Labs.
Yes.
Yeah. He's like, you can go get a ton of tests done at Quest Labs. If you go there and get a test for a couple $100, if you have the same test at a hospital, it's a couple $1,000.
Right.
And the hospital system, once you enter it, is always going to try to keep you in there.
Yes.
Oh, you should go see this specialist down the hall. And then we'll do your test here. It's just, you need to be informed to shop correctly in that marketplace. And that doesn't exist. And there's no incentive on the provider side to tell you that. And your insurance company would have to be incredibly proactive to keep that in front of you. But although it behooves them too.
Yeah, if you could walk into a Subway and know how many calories a cold cut combo 6-inch on white is, you should be able to walk into a dentist's office or a doctor's office and see, okay, if I want a flu shot, it's this. If I need to see if I need a strep throat test, it's this, and be able to comparison shop. And then maybe even have a system in place where if you save money, you get to pocket some of it.
Incentivize it, you mean?
Yeah, exactly. Then people will be much more interested in the cost of healthcare and may actually investigate a little bit more and instead of just throwing their insurance card down and saying, okay, set me up.
Yeah.
I don't feel good. I'm going to go to the emergency room. I don't know. Just stuff like that, and selling insurance over state lines and all the other stuff that, but there's such a gap. There's such a between one party that wants the government to take everything over, and then the other party, which, you know what, they kind of want a little bit of control. A little bit. Yeah. Medicare for all. Listen, anyone who has had loved ones involved with the VA, and I'm not going to get into my personal story with family members that have been involved in the VA. The VA is a horrible system. It's awful. The idea that someone would be campaigning for, let's make the VA a national system, and we could all be a part of the tremendous health care that the VA provides, you're out of your freaking mind. Well, no, and if you see me at an event,
right?
If you see me at a conference privately, I'll be happy to tell you my story over a beer, over family members that have been completely screwed over by the VA. But it's terrible.
You'll notice that Bernie Sanders hasn't used that as an example of what he wants anymore. That just conveniently right off the table, because he used to say that. He was saying that in 2016. And then it's just like, did you forget that there was all this scandal going on over there, and they've got these vets all drugged up and everything like that, and it takes forever to get seen by a doctor, and
because it's a lot easier for people to connect the dots to the VA than it is the Canadian system,
right?
or
it's just
the British
this
system.
Amorphous, wonderful idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can't concretize it because then it gets ugly.
Yeah. I mean, I've got direct. Wait a minute. You want it to be like the VA? If you say, I want it to be like Great Britain or I want it to be like Canada, I'd be like, I don't really know any Canadians. But I do have 3 family members who have dealt with the VA, and the VA sucks.
Right. I was going to say something tasteless, but I won't.
Oh, you're holding your tongue?
Well, it was for, yeah. Yes, I am. But now you got me thinking about the coronavirus.
Good Lord. So I'm going to CPAC this year. I think it's my 10th year going to CPAC. And this is only like I would say the second year where I'm driving because I don't want to get on. I hate getting on a plane anyway. Mm-hmm. But nowadays, you got to wear a hazmat suit to get on a plane. But then I'm going to a conference where there are probably going to be 15,000 people.
Yep.
And I'll be on Radio Row doing the Snark Factor for Wham Talk 1600. And, hopefully we may be able to do something for the podcast while I'm there. But when you're on Radio Row doing radio, you have all these people coming up to you. Oh, hey, you need another guest? I've got this really shitty CD that I want to promote. It's about America, and all 10 tracks are devoted to the Bill of Rights, and it's wonderful, and you need to listen to it. I'm like, I don't want to listen to it. My listeners don't want to listen to it. I don't even want to listen to you talk to me right now. Please go away. But then they'll shake your hand because you got to be nice. I just think this stuff. I don't actually say it to them. Oh, sorry, we're all booked up.
You should bring a box of rubber gloves and make a deal out of it. Anytime someone wants to shake your hand, say, hang on a second, put one on, shake their hand, then toss the glove.
Well, I was thinking about wearing a T-shirt that just says, ask me about my recent trip to China.
I'm thinking you should wear one of those old-timey diving suits, with the big helmet, the window that opens up.
Oh, God, you have no idea. I mean, in the past, I have brought hand sanitizer with me, and I'll use it from time. This year, I am bringing a half gallon of hand sanitizer, and every 5 minutes, I'm going to be hitting that. My hands are going to look like an 85-year-old man when it's all said and done. I'm going to be so dried out from the hand sanitizer. But, the idea of being among 15,000 people.
No, and it's traditional to come home and be sick from that thing.
I've been really lucky the last few years that hasn't happened to me. And I'd say that.
Yeah.
And I probably will come home sick. But, I find what amusing about that. So many of the people that I met in the media, I met at CPAC, and now they all act like they're too good for it. Because all those awful Trump people will be there. Oh, good.
It's the only reason I kind of was considering going, because we were there in 2016, and it was right before Super Tuesday, right?
Oh, did we have a blast?
Yes, annoying the hell out of everybody. I mean, Rubio's going to get smoked. Ted Cruz, just give it up. I remember running around with my Make America Great Again hat. And so now a Fox News personality and seems to be a big Trumper on air came up to me and said, "You're too smart for that." Oh, yeah. You're too smart to be wearing that hat and supporting him. I'm like,
I don't remember that name. I don't remember this. Who can you name names?
No, I don't want to. Don't want to blow up the spot. I'll name it. Maybe I can set up a little. You can keep throwing crypto at me until we've reached a peak. Someone wants to give me a Bitcoin, I'll give it up. But yeah.
Wow, I don't remember that. I remember being they were really smart at CPAC that year, and there was a debate.
That was awesome.
During CPAC, and we sat in the main ball. I think it's the last time I've been in a main ballroom. I go to these conferences. I go to work. And once my work is done, I get the hell out of there because there are 15,000 people there.
Yeah. And
who needs that? So I go in, do my little 2 hours of radio on 2 days, and then I go to the bar. But they had the debate on the big screen, and oh man, we had fun with John Kasich and his Fruit Ninja style of speaking, where just nothing but slashing his hands going forward and this and that.
And fingers pulling out the fruit that just got chopped. But luckily, we were sitting with the rowdy kids.
Yeah.
That didn't mind it. And we had gone, that was the NRA happy hour was before that?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So we were in the perfect mood to just rag on everybody who thought that Trump was going to get smoked and their little preferred candidate was going to rise above and take the nomination.
Look, it's so much of what's going on with the whatever's left of the Never Trump movement. It is just a bunch of people sobbing in the corner, clutching to their Marco Rubio 8x10, crying and wondering what might have been if Marco could have pulled it off. I'm sure Marco would have won Pennsylvania.
Oh, without a doubt.
God, these people make me sound like such a Trumper, and I'm not. I swear to you I'm not. But I'm enjoying this show so much.
Just embrace it. I just don't care anymore. It's so much fun. I like that my president insults everyone. I do. And if he gives us another round of tax cuts, I'm good.
Well, that wouldn't suck.
No, and they've floated it out that they're considering doing it. And hell, did you see the budget freak out? We know they're not going to pass his budget.
Oh, it was shelved. It's not even up for discussion.
Of course. But they're like, oh, God, he's going to slash entitlements. He said he's not going to touch Social Security. What he's going to touch is SSI, the Social Security disability benefits. Because I'm guaranteeing a lot of that is fraudulent stuff.
Yeah.
And we're going to cut back on food stamps, which we already knew that was going to happen. And it's going to be able-bodied adults that are living in areas that have an unemployment level below a set number. I think it's, 3.5% or whatever, which basically says you can get a job. Yeah. Why does everybody else have to pay for you? Get up, go out, get a job. It's totally possible.
There's so much fraud in the food stamp program. Several years ago, and I'm not going to mention his name because nobody cares about his name anyway. But I remember hearing a story about this wealthy businessman from my hometown. He had a manufacturing facility in not the best area, the industrial part of the town. And he knew people on food stamps. He would give them cash for their food stamps, and then he would go to the store. Well, he paid pennies on the dollar for the food stamps, and then he would turn around and buy steak.
That's how you stay rich, right?
Yeah, right. But I was like, oh, that's precious. Now, I don't know, obviously with how it's set up nowadays, if you could still do that sort of thing. I'm sure you probably can't, but we're talking 25 years ago.
Yeah, now it looks like a credit card.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we're an hour in, Tracy. Anything else?
No, we don't have enough time to get into my coronavirus and rant.
Oh, I'm sorry. No,
it's totally okay. I didn't put anything in the show notes about it.
Okay. Well, it's going to be around for a while.
Yeah, I think so. Now that the World Health Organization's over there now, maybe we'll get some real numbers.
Oh, wow. Can you imagine?
Seeing versus, I don't know if you've seen the stuff on Twitter, the videos that have come out of there. And it's just like, wait a minute. We're welding doors to apartment buildings shut, and you're telling me only 800 people have died? It doesn't make much sense.
People in hazmat suits walking around, spraying offices in bizarre ways that looks like something out of a movie.
Did you see the clip of it's at night in one of the cities, and you can just hear everybody wailing? Almost, it's so eerie and terrifying. It's frightening. It's just looking out the window of a high rise, and you see all these other tall buildings, and all you can hear is just this wail. And it's coming from every direction from all these people. You're just like, holy crap, what is actually going on there?
Wow. No, I have not seen that video, and I'm not sure I want to.
No, it's not as bad as the one where they pulled a woman out of a car because she's violating the quarantine and break her neck on the street and just leave her there. Yeah, I'm telling you, it's a bad scene, dude.
And then you have people in the United States saying, why can't we be more like China?
No, yeah. Oh, I remember Bloomberg said that they're really good. Like, oh, President Xi has to win the support of his constituents. Okay, good luck. But those are the kind of things that I think that foreign policy credentials are going to matter in the fall. Because I think this thing is just getting started. And the ramifications, think about this. The Chinese economy's basically been shut down for almost 2 months now.
Yeah.
What does that do to the rest of the world?
Well, you're seeing it in the automotive sector. So many of these automotive manufacturers, their components come from China.
That was what I was going to ask.
Vehicles altogether. Some
Has
vehicles.
the supply chain just completely shut down?
They're scrambling to make up for the shortages. But here's my question. Okay, you do see some of these towns that are, like you said, they're welding the door shut. But then others, I don't see China valuing their people enough. If the bottom line's being hurt, it's like, okay, you're going to show up and you're going to put masks on, and hey, if someone dies next to you, we'll just move them aside. And how diabolical are these people?
No, they've been saying, I can't remember which, it might have been the Foxconn factory, which is where the iPhones are made, that they were announced they were opening back up. And then I think the Chinese government said, if anybody here is infected and infect the rest of the coworkers, we're finding the hell out of the company. Like they don't want this spreading any more than it already has. So although I don't think that they care about human life, they care about their economy and that working. But if these supply chains are disrupted, I heard today that Walmart shelves could be empty in 4 months.
Can you imagine? And how does that affect the 2020 election here?
Right. I don't know. I mean, people are scrambling. To your point about the automotive industry, that's just one little cog. Right. I heard from one of my friends, and I won't disclose his family's business, but they do a lot of stuff selling into Chinatowns in the United States. And he said, Chinatowns in the United States are ghost towns right now. All our sales into them have dried up. White people aren't going, and the people that run the stores aren't going out. So it's ghost town. That's Chinatown, New York, Chinatown, Philadelphia, which is pretty big, Chinatown in San Francisco. I haven't heard that anywhere. The only reason I know is because my buddy told me. It's just like, wow, like this is so insane. It's already had these ripple effects.
Yeah.
And we work with a Chinese manufacturer we've got something on order from him. He disappeared. He was gone for a week. And he's like, oh, they shut down for Chinese New Year, and this happened. It was supposed to be, they're back to work on the 2nd. We get an email from him a couple days after that. And normally this guy is like on the ball. Got your thing done. Like when we get a lead time from them, it'll say 28 days. That's not how it works in America. When you get a lead time from Americans, it's weeks. So I had to ask him to clarify. I'm like, 28 days, does that mean you're talking, is that how many weeks? And he's like, no, we just work 7 days a week. So that's legitimately 28 days from now, we will be putting this on a pallet and shipping it to you. So he disappears, pops back up, and sends us a note saying, we're told we can go back to work on the 10th. And then we don't hear from him until, I believe it was the 12th.
Wow.
And I'm hearing that, I'm going back and forth because this is something we're ordering in conjunction with somebody else. And I'm like, it's not our call in the end. Like we got an American supplier to also quote it. And it's 3-4 times as much. But I know that their factory's not going to shut down. And this is a time-sensitive thing. So what do we want to do? And these guys work with a lot of Chinese, too. So I got a note from them this morning. Like, I don't know. Our people are in the same city, and they're saying only limited people are allowed to go to work. The factories are running at, 10, 20% capacity. So we don't know what to do. And that's just one little thing in my industry. Thank God that's the only thing that we source from China at all. So, we're not disrupted.
And meanwhile, you have the San Diego lab that says they discovered a vaccine. They came up with a vaccine for it in 3 hours. I find that hard to believe.
I don't believe it at all. But watch what happens. Gas prices are going to drop like crazy. Think about supply and demand.
Yeah. Are we going to get to the Glenn Beck point of the program where we're going to tell everybody to go run out and buy a bunch of food and freeze it? And
I mean, I've done that. I'm ready to roll.
You're prepping?
A little bit. I mean, it doesn't hurt, right? I'll eat it eventually anyway. It's not like it's going to go to waste if you're smart about what you get. I don't think it hurts. Because think about how long our media sat on this, and then they believe the numbers coming out of China.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Anyway, we can get into that more next week. I'll scare the hell out of everybody, and maybe we'll have some supplements and survival gear available on our Enough Already store that I'll build when I quarantine myself.
Scam pack. How principled are you?
Yeah.
I won't go there. All right, you can catch the Enough Already podcast where all fine podcasts are sold. Check us out on Apple Podcasts, and while you're there, how about doing us a solid and leaving us a review, preferably a 5-star review. That'll get the Enough Already podcast in front of more listeners over there, and of course, you can catch out the video version of this podcast over on YouTube and BitChute. It's fun to say, BitChute, even though I probably just tanked our views over on YouTube by saying BitChute. Final thoughts?
No, I'm done.
I'm done too. She's Tracy. I'm Fingers. We will be back soon with an all new Enough Already.